So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Erin. I am a senior developer advocate at Galileo, working on a lot of our agent stuff as well as our agent metrics. And I'm super excited. We're going to be here alongside my friend John, and I'll let him introduce himself, and we'll get started here.
Yeah. So thanks, Erin. I'm John Perello. I'm a principal engineer at Cisco. I've been doing all this networking stuff since the internet started, and now doing all the agent work. Not doing all the agent work, but doing some of the agent work. So there's a part of Cisco that we do incubation and stuff, and that's where we started Agency, the whole open source movement that we'll talk about. So yeah, really, really happy to be here. And yeah, we're going to start talking about some cool stuff.
Very, very cool. I'm excited. Super excited. And thank you again. If you have any questions at all, just a couple quick little housekeeping rules. If you have any questions, I love to see questions. I'm a big believer of like the best way we can learn from keep one another learning is this to be a fun little casual conversation.
Yeah.
But we'll also like put it in the chat. Questions are welcome. If you have a question, just so we don't miss it, put it in the Q&A on the bottom of your Zoom screen. So in the bottom center, it should have a little QA button. And yes, this webinar is being recorded and will be shared with everybody afterwards. Will also be available on the Galileo YouTube. And if you're not following it, you should probably go follow it now. There's a lot of great gems in there, and we're excited to kind of keep it building. But without further ado, I'll let John take it away from here.
Great. So we're going to start to talk about building the Internet of Agents and standards. Right. And so I'm sharing some slides so you guys can see it. Right. So today we wanted to talk about agent communication, how you can get agents to work together, and why we need standards. And then Erin's got some awesome stuff that she put together. So we're going to go through that. So I just wanted to go over first some of the things that we're doing in agency. So what is agency? Agency is something that has no vowels, first of all. So it's AGNTCY, agency. We're an open source collective. So what we wanted to do was to start a collective where we can work on agent interoperability. So agents talking to each other. We started seeing patterns of work where agents are starting to do things very specific, very finite tasks. So if you have sort of a domain specific agent and you want them to talk to each other or start to collaborate with each other, we need some sort of standards on this. And we've seen this a lot. We've seen this in telephony. We saw this with the internet, first of all. If you just go back in time to like 99, 2000s, everybody's like, I'm going to start up a web server. And people are like, you started up what, where on my network? Like, so people are starting up these agent systems, but we need them to intercommunicate the same way HTTP does. So we saw that for telephony and we saw that for other things. We've got a consortium of people, Galileo, Cisco, LangChain, and there's a whole host of people that are there. So what we're trying to do is come around and find out the tasks that we need to do to build a multi-agent system. So some of them are identity, discovery, verification, agent-to-agent connectivity, trying to make ensembles of agent works together, and what are the different components of that. So there's a list there of some of the things that we're concentrating on in agency. And I feel like I'm talking a lot. So Erin, what have you been thinking about agency? What's it been for you?
Yeah, I think it's been a really fun time to be in the AI space, especially with the agent space, because there's really the wild, wild west, to use that metaphor and lean into that. We're still defining, anything from what an agent is to how do they work together. And I think the interesting part to me is like the so what question. Like, we automated a bunch of stuff, but did it actually do our job? I think all of us have done an automation or something that we were like, oh my goodness, this is going to change my life, save me so much time. And then you actually just spent like 8 hours building something that doesn't quite work. So coming up with solutions of not only new frameworks of ways of building things, but also making sure that they are doing what they say they're going to do is going to become more important as we come on. So I'm excited to kind of see more folks like Agency come up with new interoperable standards for these systems.
And there's a thing that we always think about that I started to think about. And the fun thing that I've worked on is things at scale, right? So it's great to have an agent that you're working on, but that's the pets versus cattle kind of metaphor, or the plant versus crops. It's very different to have a dog versus run a kennel, right? Or have a cow and have a herd of cattle, or to have a plant and then take care of a farm. So what happens when you've got tons and tons of these things? You need to intercommunicate. You need to trace them. That's the problem we're going to see. Right now, everybody's got really good pets. but what's going to happen when we're running kennels and stuff? So that's the thing where we want to go to. So these are the things that we've seen, that when people are trying to put multiple agents as part of a system, that these topics come up, these areas of concern. So all the way on the left, we have OASF. OASF is how we're talking, describing an agent. So there should be a standard way of putting an agent on a card, or putting an agent in sort of a catalog where you could see what the agent is, find out what it does, find out how it was implemented. And you can go to GitHub and take a look at those things, but it should be more like on the side of a Yelp review, and from a business side too, not just for us who can code it. We need a way to look at those, rate them, and then see, oh, has this been approved? Do we sure that this one's not going to go off and do something crazy? So people are going to rate those and then also check for security. And that's what a directory or a catalog of agents comes to, a catalog of agents of what they could possibly do. We can get into a whole thing about, like, give me a directory of all the running agents. That's completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I was going to say, we're starting to see that with MCP as well. So I think a lot of us have caught on to that MCP hype. We're starting to see those catalogs. And I think with John and I this morning, when you're talking about what are the future problems that we're going to see in this space, that safety, security, a lot of the stuff, I really appreciate that Cisco's talking about that and bringing that kind of front and top of mind. Is I feel like, it's like you wouldn't download a Python package or even just download something from GitHub without proper security protocols. So, like, how does this impact in that directory as well?
Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, it's a tired metaphor, but looking at the App Store too, right? It's like, well, how do I know what this one does, or something like that? And I can look at it in the catalog, but then I have to see the ones that have actually running and the ones that I'm using. Once you have those, then you have an agent, you have this pet agent that you've got, and you've got another one that you want to have it talk to. How are they going to interoperate, and how are they going to communicate with each other? So there's two levels of conversation you have to have, sort of a semantic level, where you're saying, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. This is the language we're going to talk about. This is the protocol of I talk, you talk, we might take turns at the application level. But then there's the communication level, and it's REST, and it goes all the way down. So it could be gRPC REST all the way down to the stuff that we care about is on the wire at Cisco. But we built all that stuff. What happens when two agents want to communicate? Everybody's starting to come up with, well, I'll do it this way, I'll do it that way. We saw this happen with telephony. People were like, well, this will be a great way to put phone calls over the internet. And well, we kind of came to a standard for that. And that's why you could pick up the phone and call anybody on the planet. But if you want to send a message to somebody right now, you first have to go, are you Signal? Are you WhatsApp, or your iPhone? Or do I get a green one? Or do I get a blue one? So the texting is a good way of looking at it. Like, we don't want the agents to be like in these walled gardens of like, oh, well, I can only do this in one way. What happens when we want them all to interoperate? And it's much better when they interoperate, because then it scales at an internet scale. We'd love to see that happen. So that's why we're doing this. We want to make it open so that all these different protocols can start to work together. Then we have a workflow server. And the workflow server is essentially trying to put a call pattern through agents, but also doing translation between those protocols. What if you're doing it in one protocol like ACP, or to another one? We're going to have to translate those. And that's going to be a translation layer. And there is no universal translator, right? The universal translator is everybody here in the IT or computer science field working together. We are the universal translators. So we need an area to work on there. And then utmost concern is observability and security. Can you observe at the application level? Can you observe at the mid communication level? And can you observe all the way at the wire level, and correlate all that together? And then obviously security and things like that. So, we can get into quantum security too, even, but just basic table stakes of like, is this encrypted well? Is there any kind of anybody who's observing or peeking in on a conversation or something like that, or injections? So we have to look at security and observability. That's where we're trying to get to, so that we can make sure that everybody can communicate, and they can do it securely, and they can do it properly in sort of in an enterprise way.
Well, and part of the reason that workshops and webinars like this exist, and part of the reason that I really appreciate the agency group doing a lot of work out in open, is that we can't do this alone. Like, decisions and collectives and standards need to be kind of something that we all think about together. And much like John said, it takes the people kind of in the weeds building to help define what is actually helpful. I think there's always that great idea of, it works on my machine. That's one machine. We're starting to connect more machines and more APIs and more bits and pieces of this whole fun world that's out there. So
Yeah.
kind of fun to see.
Yeah, and I saw some questions with ACP and AGP. So for us, it's the Agent Connect protocol and an Agent Gateway protocol. And we might rename things in there, but it comes down to a transport layer for agent communication. So think the rest down on AGP, and a way to do group communication, publish and subscribe. And then ACP is the Agent Connect protocol. That's at the layer of looking at the JSON structures of, here's the data. This is the data format that we're going to get in. These are the calls that we're going to do. These are the function calls, if you will, right? Open API spec, if you will, right? So if it's like at the open API spec level. Cool. All right. So next, why do we want standards? So the big thing is to define the agent operability. We want to reduce the development costs. What we've seen, even in our own, at Cisco, we're a big Fortune 100 company. All different departments of Cisco are building agents, and some are doing, well, I did it this way. I did it with LangChain. Another one is, wow, I did it this way. And we're like, well, the finance department wants to use the HR one, and the HR one wants to use the accounting one. And we're like, well, how do we make them? How do we stand those up? And how do we make those work together? And how do we secure it? So that problem is happening for us. And we went through that, and we were like, okay, we came up with ways to make them intercommunicate, but then we wanted to do this pets versus cattle thing, which is like, well, what happens when you go at a grand scale? And now every enterprise wants to do that. You need a standard for this, or else it's just going to be bespoke every time. And you want to make sure it's easy and you can accelerate it, so that what happens is, if I'm using an agent that's trained and it's a very domain specific one, I want to make sure that I can easily interoperate with another one, and also human in the loop. If I've got an agent and I've set it out to do a task and it comes back, I've got to know what it did. Like, I have to say, you look at it like a temporary employee. All right, well, you did this, 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 and this. You were supposed to do 4 other things before I can approve that. Go back and do that. I can't know that unless I have some sort of observability and interoperability between the agents to look at the whole job to be done. So those are the kind of things that are going to get hard to do if we have this sort of cross communication and different walled gardens of protocols. If there's a standard interoperability for that, then we can start to look at those sort of job to be done tasks between agents.
Then I think we gotta the kind of the things that, like, I think of gold standards, right? Like OTel or open telemetry is kind of an open standard that many organizations have adopted for different types of metrics. Or another example that came up very relevant to the AI space is, if you open AI API spec and the Olama API spec are fairly similar, which is really great. They can swap keys if needed, making it really easy to kind of evolve or change things as you go. But quick question for you here, John. Getting a lot of questions about what is the difference between MCP and A2A, the one that Google just released.
Okay. So, and then there's another one, difference between A2A proposal and okay. If you take a look at the transport layers for things going up from gRPC or REST on down, that's the base transport layer. Right above that, you're going to need some sort of a protocol that says the ins and outs and the data that's going to be passed back and forth. A2A is a proposal of that, which includes the whole communication stack below it. That's the same as ACP for us. A2A and ACP are completely congruent. They're trying to accomplish the same thing, agent-to-agent protocol. AGP is sort of the communication stack below, where we could do message passing and things like that. MCP is at the same layer as A2A and ACP, but it's made for tool calling, not for agent-to-agent communication. So I'm an agent with MCP and I want to call, I want to talk to servers. It makes it very easy for me to talk to a Salesforce server, US government server, if they ever do something like that, or the weather, right? So I can look at all those tools and I can say, give me the information, but I'm not interacting with them as a peer. I'm interacting with them to pull information from them, right? I'm not looking at them as like, hey, the two of us are going to collaborate on this. Now you can, if you want, put an agent as a tool and just use it as a service, but that's not doing a communication that's at a pure level. That's just using it as a tool. Whereas what we think is going to happen is agents are going to communicate with each other. They're going to do turn-based. They're going to swap context. They're going to say, what do you think about this problem? Well, what do you think now? I've added more information. That's not a tool call. That's a collaboration, and they're going to have to pass that context. So A2A, ACP, all those, they're looking at agent-to-agent communication. MCP is like basically saying, hey, let me put organization around all the RAG calls that I've been doing and make it easier instead I can get all data into it. Yeah, MCP is more, MCP can query and interact with not just agents. That's right. It can. It can. We just think it's going to be, and will all of this merge together? Will MCP have like, okay, tools, files, and then agents? Probably. Will A2A go along with that? Yeah, probably. And will we? It's true. There are all three of these things are gonna merge together, and some other big companies are going to come out with ones as well. And that's the same as saying like, I can send a message in Signal, I can send a message in WhatsApp. Absolutely, they're all same at that level. But what happens when we want to try to make them interoperate? We're all going to have to converge on that. So that's what we're trying to do with the open source consortium, is say, let's all get together and talk and try to make this an open standard and converge on something.
I think we have to remember we're still very early days in all of this. So there's always that metaphor, especially in startups, that you're building the plane as it's taking flight. We're all learning together. And I think personally, this is why I love doing events like this, or talking to people, building agents, because I do believe like for people who define these standards are often the people who are building these, which is very fun. So excited to be kind of doing opportunities like this.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And one thing we do, I think I'm taking this from, this is speaking from a Cisco point of view, not from an agency point of view, but also from agency as well. But having been through seeing how the internet evolved, there was a time when TCP/IP was a debate whether or not that would be a big standard between communications, and it's like not anymore. It's just the one that sort of survived. There's a couple of others for broadcast and things like that, but that's there was a whole bunch of different standards, and then the world agreed on one, and that happened in telephony. That happened in wireless too. It was a whole bunch of different wireless standards, and then we converged. Take a look at cellular. Cellular had a whole bunch of different ones. We converged on like 3 or 4 that's being used, but so we know that this is going to happen again, because the semantics for agents to talk to each other are very different than what the semantics are for what's currently on the internet. It's very, very different. We could have used web servers, if you will, to make phone calls, but we don't. There's different protocols for that. There will be very different semantics for agents. So we're like, it's great. There's a ton of different standards out there. Let's converge on and see which ones make it to the top. So Erin, and you've got the example that you've got. All right, let's see if there's questions that are coming in here. And please ask those questions. Those are the good ones.
Yeah, keep us on our toes, y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. There's nothing but like a little live code in here, right?
Yeah.
Let's go up, and I'm going to show a kind of an example of what an agency that is built to the ACP spec, or an agent that's built to that spec, looks like. So we're going to learn this together, and then we're going to talk about how Galileo fits in this kind of standard and how we're thinking about this agentic evaluations state. And then finally, we'll show you what that looks like within Galileo. So quick little foreshadowing before we get going. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can so I can drive. I think I'll need you to unshare your screen there, John.
There you go.
There we go. Awesome. All right, here we go. So I'm popping open my good friend cursor right here. It's taken a little moment.
So one of the questions will be an attempt to standardize in IETF, RFC. We could definitely go there. I mean, there's things that we can do during protocol communications and stuff that we will definitely take out the IETF and RFCs. Yeah.
Right. So again, should be sharing my screen. There we go. All right. So we can see I've got my application open here. And I'm going to kind of break down this folder. So this is a agentic application. So this is an AI agent. I'm going to kind of definitely think about approaching this from realistic problem, right? When we get dressed in the morning, probably one of the first things we do, and it's like what to wear. I'm based in New York, is what is the weather? But how many people, when we're packing or coming up with a way to pack their clothes, really want to set the mood? Like, say we're going on a trip on vacation. Does anybody want to give me a good vacation location that they're out to? Right? Maybe Bali. Let's go to Bali. So that's a great one. El Salvador. Why? Oh my goodness. Great. I'm all going on vacation with all of you. So yeah, sign me up. So we're going to pretend we're going to Bali. inside, there's a couple key parts that make this an agent and a couple key parts that make this an ACP compatible agent. So the first kind of things is, and this is all, we have a blog now on the Galileo site that'll teach you how to build this agent and a little bit more about that agency protocol. So feel free to stay tuned. But inside of this, we're going to go play within this Weather Vibes agent tutorial. So within the agent itself, you'll notice we have a standard agent file. And this is our agent file that tells you kind of sets up the script. So it's like, we're going to go run an agent. We're going to get some tools from the weather. And so it's going to call a tool. And then it's going to create some recommendations. I like to choose emoji-based packing. So it's going to make some recommendations of emojis of what to pack. And then it's going to call a YouTube tool that creates the tool. At that point, the agency protocol and the standards, and I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the chat. So there's a documentation if you want to go and be like, I'm going to go build the agent standards now. I'm going to go ahead and drop the docs inside the chat. And thank you to Connor for dropping that read through in there. All of the ACP compatible agents, or a lot of agents even for that matter, have a type of file called a descriptor file. And this descriptor file kind of tells the LLM, what the heck should I be doing? Think about it as kind of your roadmap for success for an agent. This is telling me I'm going to have an input. It's going to be a location, whether it's a city name, a zip code, etc. I'm going to use the metric unit system for temperature and measurements, just because it's a nice global friendly one. And I'm going to tell it, this is how I want you to output the type of tool calls we have. So yeah, kind of, you can think of like the descriptor, kind of the system prompt. Sometimes descriptors will include a little bit of a prompt in there. So think about it like that. But it's really getting into the weeds. It's more of the formatting of it. So how does it process the data? Kind of one of the things I've learned through building these agents is 9 times out of 10, most of the problems you're running into will come from the various issues that come with that data formulation. Passing data between tool to tool can be really hard. And then what we have here, if we go into our tools folder, we'll see our different tools. So first off, it'll call the weather, and it'll be like, here is a weather tool. It's going to call the weather. It's going to tell you what to bring, and it's going to translate it. So I have some very fun, like temperature-based recommendations telling it if it's within these ranges, you're going to output these emojis. And then finally querying YouTube API to get that YouTube video. So again, we had all of the fun parts of this. We're going to go ahead and run this agent, and I'm going to go ahead and run it without Galileo, and then I'll pass it back so we can see exactly how Galileo fits into this whole scenario. But first, I'm going to go ahead and run this. So I'm going to go plop in my beautiful app I'm running in. This is built in Python. I'm personally a big Python fan, but I know you can do this in TypeScript as well. Yeah. I am starting to see a little bit of Go more often in the agent world, which is cool to see. So Python, and then I'm just going to call my script.
And while you're calling it, there was a couple of questions. There was one about, it looks like the open API tool description. Yeah, by design. Like, if you look at an agent and it starts to have an API, it's an open API. Yeah. I mean, that's really what it comes very close to that. Agents, when you start to look at it as a service, it's open API.
A lot of them are. Like, I've started to play around. Galileo does have a very handy tool calling agentic leaderboard that actually does measure performance against tool calling. I have started to play around with the llama models as well. And it's funny how differently the models perform. And that's something that we're really seeing from the evaluation side. Mm-hmm. I find very fascinating is how different each model performs. But anywho, running this agent is going to call a location. The default is New York because biased, I live in New York, but I think Bali is a great weather location. So let's go ahead, put this in. We're getting the weather to Bali. We can go ahead. We see it's 25.57 degrees Celsius. It's cloudy with an 85% degree humidity. So, oof, that's a little more than New York right now. But pack your flip-flops. It's hot. Put your swimsuit on. We're going to the beach. But it's still a little bit, again, it's pulling from that cloudy. And we'll see our YouTube URL. And it'll give us, I don't know if it'll share the screen, but I can share the music video it brings up is the Cloudy Day instrumental chill music mix. So it's kind of setting the tone for your day there. But I'm going to unshare my screen just for a quick second. And I'll have John go to the next slide so we can talk about how to tie it all in from the agent side as well, or the Galileo side as well. Cheers, Michael. I love that. And then if we just go to the next slide.
Yep.
And so this is everybody. We had a couple questions come in of like, yo, I thought Galileo was LLM evals, and I thought Galileo was RAG evals. Guess what? We're in the agent world now. So we have been working in the agentic evaluation space. And wink, wink, nod, nod. If you have a lot of strong opinions about this and you're like, I have so many things, this is my dream AI eval stack, hit me up. My email is at the end of this presentation. I would love to kind of take your thoughts, opinions, strong opinions, etc. And Connor has also dropped that agent eval, what we're doing, in the chat as well. But how this works is the user goes in, you have the input that goes in, that LLM is like, what am I going to do with this information? What tools I'm going to call? It's going to call the right tools. So in this case, we're calling our tool stack of weather, or grabbing that weather based on location. Then we're going to be calling a recommendation of like, what am I packing? And finally calling that YouTube tool. Depending on the different tools you have set up, you can call different things, or we're even starting to see like agentic RAG, which is where you're doing tool calls supplemented by a vector database at some point. And then we'll check to see, did that final action meet its goals? Or like I tell my mother when she asks, what is an agent evaluation or what is an AI evaluation? I say, how do you make sure those robots or those bots are doing exactly what they say they're going to do?
Right.
So did that final action meet the goals?
Yeah. And this is on a prescriptive call, because you're saying, okay, I want agent one, agent A, B, and C. I want them to go down a very prescriptive workflow, which is great for systems that you're building because you need them to be somewhat deterministic on the flow. If you're trying to build systems that are more collaborative, where these tools are calling each other and going back and forth, these tools are then not tools, they're agents that are going to be going back and forth and collaborating. Then it opens it up a lot wider. And that's where all of the observability and all of the security is going to have to come in, because at that point, it's not prescriptive. You're going to be like, what happened, what, where, when it went between the different agents. And there was a question about like responsible AI and things like that. Well, that's how you can do that, right? Well, one, responsible is making sure that the right parties were in there. And then two, making sure your LLM is trained responsibly as well. So yeah, once we're at tool calling right now, and once we elevate up into agent to agent, this is going to get super complex. And that's why we think there needs to be a standard.
Cool. So yeah, if we go to the next slide, we'll kind of go over the basic things right now that Galileo is covering from that. So yeah, see, couple of ways that we're doing this right now. So again, if you have really strong thoughts, feedbacks, opinions, concerns, etc., you can reach out via email to me. Again, my email is at the same, or reach out to devrel@galileo.ai. And that will take you to the team that's kind of thinking about that, grabbing that feedback. And I'd love to kind of aggregate that as well. But on evaluating agent performance, we're looking at like system metrics. That's those thinking about how this technical efficiency did, how many tokens did it cost? What is that LLM performance? Great example, kind of John got into. I have another agentic example that I run. It's based on kind of an app that helps you navigate and figure out how much time it would take to get off of planet Earth if you were going to, say, Mars. One really interesting one is in the OpenAI version, it calls tools very differently than the Llama version. And it's very funny to see how those system metrics perform on the same exact agent, same exact tool setup, but different models. Task completion. So did it do its job or not? Like, are you feeling satisfied? We've all probably chatted to a chat bot that doesn't give us the answer, doesn't solve the problem. That task completion is what we're looking at for there. Quality control, like, is it actually meeting standards and specific specifications? Or are we hallucinating? Are we kind of just making stuff up? Are we putting bias or toxicity right in those details that we don't want? And lastly, that tool interaction. So within Galileo, you can even see what tools did it call, and then how did it pass the data from tool to tool? So let's go ahead and show, I'll take back over the screen. If you want to unshare your screen, and I'll show you what that looks like right now within not only the application of like how you would implement Galileo, but also what it looks like within Galileo. So for the sake of magic time warping, I know that we're about halfway through this, or past halfway through this webinar right now. I'm going to go ahead and inside of this, I have a version of the same script that calls the agent and runs the workflow, but it now has Galileo in there. So all I've done is install Galileo, and I've imported the log and Galileo context. And you'll notice now after I get in, all of my tools now have this nice little wrapper. We've made it a nice little friendly Python SDK wrapper that we are able to quickly import tools and quickly import workflows as well. So we can even see the Galileo tracing in version here. So let's go ahead. Someone give me another really great vacation location if we're going here. I'm going to go ahead, call the script. Someone drop it in chat where we're going for our vacation now. Oh, Cape Town. That's a good one. Next time I want to go on vacation, I am reaching out to y'all. So Python Galileo agent.py. Again, the only difference I am doing is this is the same exact file, or the same exact script. All it has is the Galileo logging imported. But again, there's that tutorial that will teach you how to run through it and implement it yourself line by line if that's your status. So from here, we're put our location. We're going to Cape Town. Let's see where Cape Town's taking us. So it's giving us that thing. I have my nice little logs. I'm probably an overlogger person, came from the DevOps world. It says we've got 18 degrees Celsius. It's clear skies. Put on the baseball caps. Got the sun. It's beautiful. It's giving us some lo-fi, sunny day, lo-fi beats to chill. So again, if we want to pull that up, you can see here. And then I've got that just nice little alert that says, view them in your Galileo dashboard. Again, if you want to see the real life, I'm not making it up. There's our YouTube video, but I'm gonna go ahead and switch what I'm sharing now and show you what that looks like inside of Galileo. So we can test all at once where Galileo comes into the party. If you make sound effects while you're programming, it's statistically proven better, right? That's statistically proven your demo gods are in your favor if you're making your own sound effects, right?
Yep.
So again, this is our Galileo dashboard. If you want to go up, get this started, get rocking and rolling, grab the tutorial, have some fun yourself. This is what it'll look like. I've already got my project set up, and let's see, you can see where we were going for vacation. So now that we have that Galileo logging, notice that we're not seeing that Bali answer in there because I did not have Galileo set up. So again, I'm going to see that Cape Town location there. From within there, I can see where the agent is and what that information is coming in. We can see the workflow, so all the data that came in through. We can see how it called each tools and the latency for all of the tool calls. So we're seeing that latency time, we're seeing the tool errors. The nice thing is for those of you, this does rely on a basic LLM as a judge, much like our other metrics inside of Galileo, but we can even hover over and see how it kind of took it, how many judges it took, the cost of the run, and even the model that's in. So I think I'm using OpenAI as default, but I've just got 3 judges on this. If you want to have more, you can really dive in or fine tune your models for that LLM performance. Again, seeing that weather tool, what it's calling, the URL it's calling the API from, the output at each step, our recommendations, and our YouTube tool. So we can see all the different ways that we could have called that API. So again, that's what it looks like from our perspective. And we can even show about how fast that would happen, that IRL time. So I'm again, one last stop share, and we'll reshare my screen for the last hoorah of this all.
While you're pulling that one up, think about, we looked at the trace flow that you instrumented. Now, what happens when it hit the protocol levels, right? It started to hit the interprotocol portions. We want to have the tracing then and there. So if we're all using the same sort of standard protocols that are going between the agents, then you can imagine between those tool calls, or if it went to do a whole bunch of other agents, we could see the full stack then, right? So we'd see the application, we'd see then at the protocol and transport layers, all the way down to the networking layer. And we'd be able to see exactly what happened all the way through, not just at the application level, because that's where you're going to have to diagnose things and say well, okay, I got the answer from the agent, but was that the agent I was supposed to be talking about too? Was that an agent that was put in the middle and it's pretending to be that agent? So you want to know the whole call stack going all the way through. Without a standard, you're going to have to put that all in one instrumentation. And then the second somebody brings in something from another framework, you're like, I got to do that again. No way you want to do that. Let's do that once, please, everybody on the internet, and then we can do it and we're done.
Right. So again, we're not making all of this up. This is all right out of the thing. let's go one. It's John, you're in San Francisco, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead.
Oh,
For
it's
our
gonna be
friends in San Francisco, we're going to run it and promise I'm not making it up. We'll see it here pop over on the Galileo dashboard. Oopsie. As I'm coming over here. I'm overeager with my clicking today. Give it a nice little refresh. This is when you have two people on calls in your household at once.
That's how you know it's real.
Yeah. It's going to take a quick moment.
For San Francisco, we're gonna have to figure out like which section of San Francisco to get the weather
It's going
right.
to be like it's cloudy, right? It's going to tell you it's cloudy or foggy no matter what. So we're getting that same cloudy day video popping up. And we can see, again, I didn't make it up. This is all real time. So everything's popping in. We can even see, look, I appreciate that it's giving the fog emoji for this. So and we can kind of see how we can expand on these types of things. But again, that action advancement has a 100% chance of achieving that goal, which is nice to hear. I hope you're happy with your weather recommendations. It's got that action completion. It's likely to have achieved that. And that's kind of where we're going with the agentic AI evaluations with Galileo. So again, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, things that you would like to see, hit me up within the chat or all the fun stuff. Get a hold of me. I would love to take your feedback, but I'll pass it back to John from here.
Yeah, so let's go back to just some of the summarizations and stuff of what we're talking about. So what are the takeaways? Agents are getting really, really complex. And the impact of what happens when they grow and we start to interoperate with them is going to make it even more of a nightmare than what we've got now, which is like I'm pulling agents and LLMs from here. But what happens when they actually deploy these at scale? Having the interoperable framework so that we can have them work together. We can get the observability, you can get the trace, you could build applications like Aaron did, and then have that full stack through is going to be critical for us. And we don't want that to be a nightmare. So we've got like this one chance. I saw somebody in there was saying that like, oh, they wrote a book and then it's already out of date. Like I multiply time by 3. We're not quite at dog years, but like 1 year in real life is like 3 years in AI life. Like what's going to happen when this stuff explodes? We've got like one chance right now for everybody to come together and organize this stuff, or it's going to be settled and it's a nightmare once that concrete dries on everybody's like, nope, I'm doing this protocol, I'm doing that one. So coming into the open source consortium is where we're going to be able to hash these things out so that we can all work together on it. Right. So that's the kind of biggest takeaway is like, come on in, we have cake, let's figure this out.
I know I'm biased. I came from the open source world, so I am a big believer in the power of like open source frameworks and tools to do this type of work. So very excited. I think the last takeaways that I would offer is we had those questions earlier on about safety, security, integrity. And I think the way that we really think about that is that evaluation layer. Like, how do we make sure and trust that the agents are doing what they say that they're going to do? LLMs are a little caustic and they're a little out there and they're undeterministic, meaning we can't predict what's going to happen. So having a kind of an approach that has that. I know we have a couple options here for getting involved. Our contact info is here, but a couple questions here that we're seeing. I'm happy to just go top to bottom here. So Jose Ramos, how is your process flow tool different than a rules-based approach? So this is for context. A process flow tool is a little bit different than a rules-based approach. So typically with a process, it's like you've got branches and like decision points. So it's like the pure kind of a standard as you would think of like a user flow journey. It's very sequential based. So this, again, this type of agent, the very sequential agent, like first you do this, then you do that, and then you do this. Where a rules-based approach takes more of an if-then, it's a little more subjective. I have another demo that does that type of work with the if-then type, or it's a rules-based agent. And that one, it's like thinking about one is you're looking for, that's kind of helpful when you want specific action. So if you see an answer that, or if you see a question that is related to agents, then provide agent documentation or if you see a question based on like JSON formatting, you're providing the JSON formatting work. So it's very much like an if-then type process. So does that kind of hopefully answer the questions, all that fun stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next one with MCP, there's a server, and an agent can talk to, say, Salesforce or HubSpot or other tools, because each of them have an MCP server of their own. How will ACP work where the agent has to work with other third-party tools? So we're now looking at ACP for the third-party tools. If you have an agent, you're building an agent. There's also a debate on what is an agent, right? So we look at it as an agent as it's an LLM, some sort of trained LLM with context, with data that it's running off of. And what will happen is those agents are going to get, we're taking a bet that they're going to get more and more domain specific. So when we're saying I have an agent and it's going to talk to Salesforce, a HubSpot, or Yelp, or YouTube, that's not really going to be one agent talking to all four of them. It's going to be for some context. I'm going to make my company's tax agent. Well, my tax agent's going to talk to the US government, my accounting system. My sales agent is going to be talking to Salesforce and maybe a whole bunch of spreadsheets and some people in the Salesforce. So what happens when those two want to collaborate? Well, yes, you could have a server where you're saying you're going to talk to multiple agents through a server, but at that level of conversation, you're really going to want a pub sub. You're really going to want to message and subscribe, because these agents have agency, and they're going to have to talk and collaborate at a topic. So while you could do it through a server and tool calls, which we can do at ACP, we're thinking it's not going to go that way, right? The tool calls and the multiple servers are more for aggregating data, but this becomes a data science problem, right? The data has to be aggregated for a specific purpose, and then when you try to combine those purposes, you'll use ACP or some sort of publish and subscribe messaging. So I hope that makes sense.
Awesome. I think it's a really great one. All right. So have we benchmarked the agent with the real score? I'm assuming if you're meaning this agent, not specifically yet. We have someone on the Galileo team that does our own agent leaderboard. So I'd have to check with him. I will fully admit that's kind of very much more of his wheelhouse right at this current moment. But I thank you so much, Sharon, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Sharon, for sharing that resource. And I'm really excited to kind of learn more about it and definitely play around with that. So thank you. I appreciate it. And then
tools for frag.
For tool-based frag. So how does one handle massive toolkits without splitting them to separate agents? I love this question. This is kind of like that tool-based frag or that agentic frag. I have a demo on this. It's one of something that I've been playing around with more and more. Actually, I bookmarked a tutorial last night based on from convicts.dev that has an interesting tool-based approach to that. So that's something I'm very excited about. Currently, my recommendations is kind of the toolkits. I haven't tried it beyond 3 tools right now. So that's definitely, Vijay, if you have a really great response of beyond 3 tools, that's something I'm really excited to see. But one of the things that I have noticed that does make a huge impact, and John, if you have any other advice, I'd love that as well, but makes a huge impact is that type of what model are you using? So are you fine-tuning it? How are you fine-tuning it? What is the model you're using to navigate that agent can really make a big difference. So kind of an example I mentioned earlier is the difference in OpenAI versus the Llama 3.7. I saw completely different responses and completely different action with that Llama model. It kept getting stuck in a loop over and over and over again, where the OpenAI model was able to handle tool calling a lot better and better discern of like, when do I need to do what? So,
and then without splitting them into separate agents, I don't know, I'm just thinking about, you could now, because you have multi-agent. If I have a pub sub and I have them split into multiple agents, you can kind of like send it out and then sort of have another agent come to consensus or something. That's one way. So yeah, I know we don't like to split the agents, but I just thought of that now. I was like, well, what if we do split them and then we kind of interoperate them with them to get the results? So you might do that as well too. I don't know how deterministic it would be, but just this there, because this is new. Okay. Oh, that one's for you. How does Galileo work with an MCP server?
Ooh, great question. This is actually something we're currently talking about internally. So we don't have any full scope or spec quite yet, but we're definitely thinking about what the world of MCP is and building really with intention. So I'm a big believer of like the best tools we always have the automations and everything that we would like, but figuring out different ways of actually functioning and passing it. So There are definitely stuff playing around now in those early days, but no official MCP server yet, or
Yeah.
MCP for server integrations yet. World's
And then,
building fast, man. We got to try to keep up.
yeah. Have you considered to build an agent responsible for understanding what is the easiest way to integrate the integrations of the integrations? Yes. In fact, I didn't talk about that one. We have a sort of a thing there called the IO mapper that is taking the configurations, the manifests, if you will, of two different agents, and then figuring out how the hookups work on that. So we have an IO mapper. So if that's something you're interested in, go take a look at that in the repos, and we could start working on that as well. I kind of glossed over that a bit because I didn't want to get too much into the details. I wanted to show you like what the big areas are, but we do have an IO mapper on that that is responsible for that semantic interchange. And there's another one for API integrations as well on API server. So yeah, where the glue comes together, it's like we're debating like, do you just do it or do you put an agent in the middle of it? But then it's like, are you making the universal translator? Like it's tough to see how we're going to go on that. But definitely take a look at the IO mapper and the API server inside agency.
And then on the agent responsible for even building, I would advise y'all to check out Goose by Block. They're kind of looking at that problem as well of like, how do we get, they're doing this fun series of how much can they build Goose with Goose. So it's like an agentic coding on device type of agent. So that's a very fun thing to look at and kind of just see how they can build their own docs and materials with their own tools. So it's cool to see. I love that type of work. Ed, you're hitting me up with one of my favorite questions. Are there standards for agent security, trustworthiness, words today? Yes. So if you go inside of Galileo, we have our own agent-based metrics. And I can even share my screen real quick and show you what that looks like within Galileo. So let's see.
Like, good one for us to take back to like standardize the scores or something like that. We should be doing that. And yeah, for all fairness, Cisco has AI defense that goes through and scores LLMs and says, okay, it takes a look at how the model operates, gives it a score, says yes, no. So there's people doing that, but yeah, we should open that up. The scoring should be opened up, right?
Totally. And there's a couple open source frameworks as well. John, apologies. I'll need to swoop the screen
yeah,
for
sure.
a second. No worries. If I'm going to go ahead, swoop the screen, I'm going to pop open. So again, I'm within Galileo right now. I'm just going to go ahead, pop in our beautiful metrics, and I'm on our internal team count. So you'll see some extra fun metrics that folks are testing right now. But inside of Galileo comes with 30 something out of the box metrics ready to go play with, go have fun, right? Have fun, whether it's action advancements, like we can see, here's our Galileo metrics right out of the box, whether it's action advancement, action completion, blue chunk and attribution, all that kind of fun stuff here. So what I like to go through, and we're even starting to see, and this is again, catching the stuff right as we're building it. So this is a very, very fun stuff we're doing right out of the box, but we do have these types of metrics that are right out of the box. Again, like always, if you want to bring your own metrics to Galileo, we encourage that, invite that, have all that sort of fun, but it even tells you a little about what it does. So how well is it following the prompts? How well is it choosing the right tool? Is it finishing it? Is it staying within the context adherence? And it's been really cool to see. Like I have a space example that does an agent workflow of space tools. And it'll even, one of the errors that it's popping up is this in the realm of reality? Like, is this in the realm of possibility? So I'll be like, can I drive a Ferrari to the moon? And it'll block me on that, which is cool to see how those real-time metrics are working. But I'm gonna go ahead and stop my screen share for a little bit and we can pop it back over there. But yeah, great question, Ed. Thank you so much for all of that. And thank you, the Galileo team, and for helping out and being the heroes on those links drops. So again, I appreciate all of y'all. And we're coming up, we got 5 more minutes of time. So if there's any other questions. There's a good one. Can you summarize the roadmap to really get working with agentic AI? Great question. I think the biggest thing that you can do, and John, I'd like to hear how you got into it as well. But personally, I think the best thing that folks can do is really to start getting their hands dirty. I think there's a huge dichotomy in or differences in opinion on how you can actually get started, whether I need to learn a specific framework or a specific language. I think the best thing I would advise is come up with a goal in mind and try to execute on it. So I think there's a really great come up with a way to solve a problem. Like, I want to build an agent, try to recreate this weather agent, understand what that looks like. If you're looking for more formal instruction, we have our own Mastering Agents ebook. Thank you so much to the Galileo crew for dropping that below. But also Hugging Face has a bunch of really great resources. And I do believe they have how to build an agent tutorial series that they run in their Discord for dropping in. So I can go find that. John, do you have any what you would recommend?
Yeah, I think what's happening is, first you got to get in shape, right? So then everybody's got to go say, okay, I'm going to find out the tools that are using. I'm going to build my own agent. Then find someone else and try to reuse their agent. And then you two try to make the two agents work together. That's going to be harder and then not harder, but that's going to be different than what you are doing when you're doing it all for yourself, because you have full control. And that is exactly the kind of thing that we're looking at. When you have complete control over everything, you can do it all on one platform. But what happens when you don't have control and you're going to use an agent from somebody else? So that could be like, all right, you just have a friend and you say, well, I wrote an agent that did this. So you have the weather vibe one, right? And I have a vacation recommendation one. We should have the weather vibe one, talk to the vacation recommendation one, and then somebody else does one for budgeting to see if we got enough money for all this. Like, I just threw that out now. It would be cool if three of them work together like that. That's the next level after that. So get good at an agent and then try to reuse agents. That's how I would go through the journey.
I think there's a lot of power in, especially with open source these days, right? A lot of power of forking a repo, seeing what small changes you can make, and then putting it back out in the world and expanding on it. So slowly doing it from there. I also went ahead and dropped our agent leaderboard from Hugging Face inside the chat, as well as the Hugging Face agents course, which will teach you how to get started with agents. All of that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. And just go into the agency. I mean, the other way to do it is just go into the agency collective and just start to take a look at some of the things in there. Like when you get in two agents starting maybe to work together, or you're one and you want to talk to another one, try it out. We're going to have more examples and things that are going to be coming down, and we're going to be dropping them into the repos for examples that you can try out and have multiple agents. So yeah, try it out and then contribute, like and subscribe and contribute. Right?
Yeah. And if you like this course and you like this webinar, a couple of last little parting moments, be sure to follow not only John, but follow Agency on both GitHub and LinkedIn. They're doing a lot of really great work. You can find myself on LinkedIn or Twitter or Blue Sky. Also check out the Galileo LinkedIn and YouTube. We will be posting this, like I said, we will be posting this afterwards. So feel free to keep hanging around and approaching that problem. So again,
if you need to get in touch with me, it's Jay Perello everywhere. So Jay Perello, Twitter, Blue Sky, all that stuff, LinkedIn, everything, and over at Agency as well.
So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I think one last final question sneaking in. How is the market thinking about safety for agent to agent interactions? I definitely think that's in your world, John, with the
safety is a big one. Is it like safe in that somebody the communication wasn't eavesdropped, wasn't intercepted? There's that kind of safety on what they said. It comes down to observability. That's what everybody's looking at. If we get observability right, we could fix all those other problems.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying it. Like I said, if you enjoyed it, let us know. It keeps us knowing what type of content to deliver to y'all at Galileo. If there's any parting thoughts, feedback, or things that you would like to see in agent evaluations, please do hit us up. And don't be strangers. But until then, I will let y'all get back to your day or evening or morning, whatever part of the time zone you're in. And I will definitely keep in reminder that y'all are coming up with really great vacation locations. So thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, John, for tag teaming with me over the past few weeks to kind of make this happen.
Yeah, my pleasure. This is fun. Thanks so much, Aaron. Thanks, everyone.